Welcome to A Matter of Fact, a production of the Pan American Health Organization for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean countries. I'm Nicola Barito. A Matter of Fact is designed to inform and educate you about the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes COVID-19, while taking an in-depth look at the benefits of vaccination. My guest is Dr. Forde, Head of Isolation Facilities and Infection Control Specialist at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Barbados. Dr. Forde, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Forde, is the pandemic over? I ask this question simply because many of us are under this impression because of the lifting of public health restrictions across the globe. Where are we at?
I think the rest of the world, we all want to believe that the COVID pandemic is over. But I think if we look around us, if we look around the Caribbean, if we look around South America, if we look around the rest of the world, Asia, Europe, we'd recognize that this is certainly not the case. WHO has made it very clear as well that this is not the case. There's certainly across the globe an increase in the number of cases, and obviously associated with a number of new variants, which are certainly on the horizon, and some which have already penetrated many countries at this particular point. And one of the things that makes it very clear to me that we're certainly not out of the pandemic, as we might want to believe, is that the number of hospitalizations in some areas of the world certainly have also been on the increase, which really will give an impact in terms of your medical systems as well. So I think although many of the measures have come down, certainly because of vaccinations, certainly because people are aware, I think that we certainly at this point need not to drop our cards. I think people need to understand that with the sheer amount of virus have come out in this pandemic, that where we are at this particular point, things might change or things might get better. But I think we have to really continue to do the things on the ground that we know as healthcare professionals will decrease the spread of COVID among individuals, and to also, of course, to get vaccinated, because we know certainly from the evidence that the risk of persons getting ill in that particular stead is a good thing. That they're not going to get ill to the extent as they might if they're unvaccinated. And I think that that's an important charge. I think that has changed the course of the pandemic. It's made people a little bit more relaxed in knowing that this is one of the things that would help the charge of what we saw initially during the pandemic, with multiple people being hospitalized and sick and really didn't know much about COVID. I think people have become more comfortable with it, understanding how it spread, etc. But I think the other part is certainly important, and that is, I think, a lot of the responsibility at this point of the pandemic, as opposed to the first part of the pandemic, which was on governments and healthcare systems and making sure they're in place, is now a lot of responsibility is on the average citizen, the average person in the community, to understand, yes, it is spread by this mechanism, and if you're going to be in a tricky situation, wear your mask still. I think that this is important. Use the appropriate hand hygiene mechanisms that you were doing in the initial part of the pandemic. So, to definitively answer your question, we are clearly not out of the woods, and self-care and responsibility needs to be the mantra, to my mind, in the pandemic at this particular point. Be responsible citizens, and I believe this is the way through where we are at this particular point.
Thank you so much, Dr. Forde.
Yes, no problem. Bye-bye.
This has been A Matter of Fact, a production of the Pan American Health Organization for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean countries. I'm Nicola Barito. See you next time.